Investigators do not have a suspect connected to the 5-year-old's disappearance, despite what some social media reports have alleged.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. In this episode, we're going to look at the, quote, no person of interest, unquote, statement by Hawkins County Sheriff Ronnie Lawson. Now, how's that for an appropriate name for a law enforcement person? Ronnie Lawson. So we're going to look at what he's been saying and also the other side of the story. You know, what has been found, what is going on, what is going in the right direction. It is certainly disappointing. It's more than 3 weeks ago that Summer disappeared. It's hard to know what to make of the sheriff's statement earlier today. He said there's no person of interest. Is there really not a single person that law enforcement are even interested in? Not even the driver of the red Toyota Tacoma that hasn't come forward? Or is something else going on here? Before we get to that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Like, share, leave a comment, and let's get started. So, if you ask me, my answer to this question of, is there really not a person of interest, I would say probably there's not enough to lay charges, and there's not enough because we are seeing law enforcement repeatedly reaching out to the public, asking for help from the public, asking for information from the public, asking the public to come forward with tips and clues and leads and information, right? So I think there are two sides to this statement in terms of no person of interest. I think on the one hand, they don't have enough, so there's something true about this, but I think there's also potentially what I call strategic mind effery, if you get my drift, from law enforcement, especially given what Lawson said next, and this is a quote. He said, and like I said, everybody's a suspect now, everything's on the table, and our main focus is to find Summer, to bring her home. Whichever way it goes with the suspect, or she's lost in the woods or whatever, being abducted, whatever, everything's on the table. We're not focusing on one thing because we have no reason to, end quote. You know, the way investigations typically go is they put quite a few things on the table right in the beginning. So they open to all comers, open to all possibilities, open to all suspects. But how a credible investigation proceeds is it then starts to narrow its focus. It starts to exclude certain possibilities. And it starts to advance and pursue and target other probabilities, right? So they are saying, well, they really don't have a clue, that they've got no idea where to go in terms of this. Do you think that that's true? As we know in true crime, although it's innocent until proven guilty, some are more innocent than others. Some are less innocent than others. I think it's clear we've reached a stage where Summer hasn't merely disappeared, she's disappeared without a trace, meaning her disappearance has been covered up by one or more persons. Now, if there's more than one person involved here, that's actually, in a weird way, good news in terms of the investigation. I don't think it's good news for Summer, though, because cover-ups are tough to maintain, especially between several people with different and often competing interests. In this age of expressionism and social media, it also requires self-discipline not to give away the ghost. And social media is something that actually comes up in this latest news article. According to WATE.com, the TBI have received over 900 tips now, so the public are responding. They are, sending in information. There is a reward, which I think is something like $40,000, $37,000, which is, I think, fairly low. But Lawson says most of the tips aren't resulting in solid leads. The people who really need to send in tips are the people close to Summer, people who have had direct contact with her, especially on June 15th, who saw her. People who know the people who did have direct contact and can remember certain things that were said or done in the past, kind of thing. And I think what is a bit of a difficulty here is, as I say, some people are less innocent than others. And so if you're going to point a finger at someone who's not innocent in a certain area, you're probably going to be admitting some of the things you've done yourself. Of course, the priority here is summer, and that is probably what the authorities would do. Lawson says, there's a lot of rumors going around, and this is a quote. He says, "I think a lot of it is coming from social media. People that has 100% knowledge this happened, but they're not doing it the right way. You don't put stuff on social media. If you know something, then you have something to say to us, not just start rumors." And that's the big thing, is rumors, and people have their opinion. I've also seen them on social media, and often it's just someone making a claim. One of the rumors I saw that sound like there could be something there, but there's just nothing behind it, is I saw someone saying that a life insurance policy was taken out on summer, something like 2 weeks earlier. Well, that's just a rumor unless you can produce a document, or, how does someone know that kind of information? So someone from the insurance company should come forward, or someone who knows that for a fact should come forward. Otherwise, it's just that. It's rumor. It's dead in the water. Lawson said investigators have actually already followed up on some of the rumors on social media. So Lawson says, quote, "In my position and my detectives everywhere, everybody wants to share their opinion, which we understand, but 99.9% of things that people are posting are saying we've already looked into and taken care of. But we still want people to look on their property in the Beach Creek community, because I think with all the searches we've had, the many people, I don't think we've missed anything. But we're not counting out there's still a need to search their own property," end quote. I would actually say that they need to do a proper search of the Ben Hill Road area. And let me give you some perspective on that. In the Madeleine McCann case, you had international interest. You had the British authorities getting involved. Right now, it's 14 years later, you've got the German authorities involved. The Germans are searching a property previously owned by the girlfriend of a German suspect. They're searching a property in Praia de Luz 14 years later. There were searches that went on 10 years later, I think, in the drains of that area. There's no time like the present to search in a way that seems silly. Look under things, do a little bit of digging, do a little bit of excavation in certain areas, bring in as many cadaver dogs as you can, search trees, search very unusual areas, search under piles of metal, search garbage dumps, all that kind of thing. And the thing with searches is you think you've searched an area, but have you really? Think of it in 3 dimensions. It's not just the surface layer, it's also the layer below the ground. It can also be a layer above the ground. It could also be, anyway, in the Casey Anthony case, Kaylee was just down the road, and yet it took 6 months to find them. And Kaylee wasn't found by a searcher. Kaylee was stumbled upon by a utility worker. So it really makes sense for the searchers to sort of do their jobs. And I think the time is sort of coming where one's got to perhaps go beyond the law enforcement searches, perhaps not now, but where the community arranges searches. And I think that's what they're trying to achieve with the neighborhood searching. I'm not sure if I agree with this whole point of, don't let ordinary community members search because they'll get lost. These are adults. These are people from the area. And if you're searching in a combined group, then that's fine, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, he says, quote, people get confused why we didn't want people just off the street searching in the woods because we couldn't take a chance on losing someone else in that tremendous mountain terrain and with the bears. It's very dangerous, so that's why we put so many in certain areas. So we were certain how many was coming out. So everyone was accounted for, so it made it so much easier on us. Not that we didn't appreciate the community wanting to help search. Well, one wonders, isn't the time now to do something different? If you've not succeeded in doing something a certain way, isn't it time to do something different? And there's a lot of resource, I think, in the community who want to search. 24 days without finding someone, isn't that time to get in more resources, not less resources? And, they're saying that they're going to scale down the search. That's less resources when you actually need more resources. He goes on to say the local church has been unbelievable in the way they've helped to step up search efforts. I think what is a problem in the Summer Wells case that is to some extent unique to the Summer Wells case is because of the lack of an urban fabric. There's also a lack of a sort of a digital layer. So in another case where you've got a neighborhood like the Chris Watts case, to some extent even the Patrick Frazee case, you've got layers going on. And in these digital layers you've got cell phone networks and you've also got CCTV cameras, and that I think is to some extent missing in this case, which makes it more difficult. But what about the guy on the bike who had a camera mounted on his bicycle? What has happened to that information? What did he see there? Isn't it perhaps time to release that footage? So just coming back to what I said earlier, I don't know how you can say there's no person of interest when they have identified a potential witness to the case and they still don't even know who that person is. Why hasn't that person come forward? Surely at this point that person can't not know that it's his truck and that they're looking for him. In any event, overall, loose lips sink ships. One wonders whether the ship is already sinking or whether there's more loose lips to come. Either way, it's not looking good for summer. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.